and stuff. Okay, there we go. So let me share it here, and then I'm gonna actually tag you on the music page. I'm on my personal page again. Okay. All right. There we go. So of course this part gets edited in the actual podcast, and I could do the same thing on YouTube, like cut this part out, like the preliminary part.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. We're good to go now. Okay. All right. What's going on, guys? Thank you for checking out the podcast. This is supposed to be different podcast. This is your man Gerard Kenneth, and this is episode 50. We didn't made it to episode 50. I'm really happy, and this is going to be this episode is called Big Bro Talks featuring Ron Frierson. Oh man, I'm already smiling. I'm so excited about this particular episode. Um, Shoot, where where do I begin with this man? Good grief. I've been knowing him since I was like itty bitty. And that's the best way to start off like that. I've been knowing him since I was itty bitty, and I always looked up to him and his siblings. Just we're gonna get into it. We're gonna talk, man, because this man is doing some big things in California, and he just been ever since I known him. That's always been the case, and I just really marveled at this guy. So even behind closed doors, we talked a little bit. And by the way, I did take notes. Even when you were talking on the phone real quick, I was just like, man, this is good. Let me take notes. That's just the type of person I am. So I feel like I might need to take notes again. So without further ado, let us go ahead and introduce this brother, Mr. Ron Frierson. Sir, how are you doing this afternoon?
Gerard, my brother, I'm doing well, man. I'm doing well. So good to see you. So good to hear from you. And
Yes,
I'm
sir.
happy to be here today.
Man, I'm excited. I'm excited. Oh man, I'm excited because it's like because it was what was interesting is that like just us talking behind closed here they go right here behind us when we were talking behind closed doors you were just giving wisdom. I was like, boy, if you ain't your daddy's son.
I am. I'm definitely
Yeah,
that.
yeah. So I thought it was really cool, man. So I call it Big Bro Talks. Basically, I'm basically me being a little brother from a certain perspective. For people who don't know, Ron and I, well, far as my memory serves me, I just remember him at New Covenant Christian Center. That's how I remember him. He's been knowing my mom before I was even born. My mother was like just kind of like looking out for him and his siblings and stuff like that. So my mom's been a part of the family, like being close to the family for like years. So, but for far as my own personal memory, it was at New Covenant. I just remember him when we were at the Y, when we were over there on Hayden Street in Saginaw, Michigan, and you were just always doing big things. I was like, "Jeez, this dude cannot lose." And I never thought like that in my head as a kid. All I thought was, "Man, this guy is so cool. I want to be like him." But see, I think it was good to have to see you at in that perspective. Um, but I'm under the impression that being a PK, there's some pressure. But I don't know. I don't really think. Did you actually get that kind of pressure growing up being a PK?
But my pop
Mm.
hasn't been a pastor my entire life. He got serious about the ministry, like really serious about the ministry in regarding, going and doing his own thing back when I was in high school, I believe.
Really?
Yeah, so we went a long time now. We've always been involved with the church,
Mhm.
and especially my mother when I was little. And then dad kind of caught up with where mom was and just took it to another level. So
Wow.
we've always been involved with the church. And you talk about our fantasy. When I was a little kid, I remember your mom, and
Mm.
she was back with us like back when I grew up going to Williams Temple Church.
Yeah.
And so so your mom is like family to us, and my earliest memories include her. So it feels like I'm known
Wow.
yeah for yeah.
That's
And so yeah, so when you came around, you and your sister, you guys were just like little cousins of mine already. Just
oh
little.
man. Tear.
But to answer your question flat out in regards to being a PK, I never really I get it though because you
Mhm.
do have a lot more attention on you because your dad, your parents, are trying to help people better their lives, and sometimes because of that, they are put on a pedestal to be the the extraordinary, perfect example, and their
Right.
families do the same thing. But one
Mhm.
thing that I've always kind of loved about my parents is that they understand, and I think this is one of the reasons why they're so embraced by the community. They
Mhm.
understand that they and my dad is called to be a pastor, but
Mhm.
that doesn't mean that you won't have issues like real life issues to
Yeah.
deal with
Yeah.
just because your parents they have to deal with the same sort of issues that a lot of the members of the church or someone else visiting coming off the street have to deal
Right.
with. And so and that actually makes it even more impactful because now they can relate to
Mhm.
what people are dealing with. And
Yeah.
me, I've been a basketball dude. And then
Yep.
so when I started to get a lot of attention for basketball, I think both of those two parts of me kind of helped each other because I
Mhm.
knew because of my height and for other reasons, I started to stand out wherein I
Yeah.
knew I didn't blend well. I'm
Mhm.
already a looking dude, so I didn't blend out. And so because I've always known that there were eyeballs on me, that
Mm.
kind of kept me like saying, okay, conduct yourself in a certain way. And also the fact that I am a pastor's son and
Mm.
I carry his name and I've always respected my parents. I've never wanted to do anything to embarrass them. So both of these sides kind of kept me in check in regards to, and part of it is just my natural, my natural tendency. I'm the oldest,
Mhm.
so
Mhm.
I wanted to be an example to my younger brother and sister. And then the other two things, like I said, was the fact that I was an athlete that was starting to get a lot of recognition locally around town, so
Yeah.
they knew who I was, and the fact that my parents were being the example in the community that they were trying to be, and I'm carrying my father's name. So I mean, okay, comport yourself accordingly because it's not all about you. So, long story short, I know it's not all about me, and that's why I conduct myself a certain way. So, there you
Ron, what in the world? So wait a minute. So you had this mindset as a teenager? You was already like, okay, I know what I gotta do. It looks like this. While
go.
you were
Probably
talking,
wasn't- I mean, the thought process probably wasn't as well articulated as I just mentioned,
uh huh.
but essentially, yeah. Essentially, I knew that I've always been kind of protective of my brother and sister.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I've always tried to be a certain way so that they, would be proud of their older brother.
Right.
Um,
Wow.
and then also, I've always kind of had this little protective thing over my parents, maybe because I'm the oldest
Mm-hmm.
and they had me when they was basically kids. So I've always had
Okay.
this
Yeah.
kind of protective thing in them. Why I
Wow.
didn't now that doesn't mean that I didn't have my rebellious streak,
I think
but
we all have.
my rebellious streak it's always come with limits. I've always
Hmm.
said, okay, whatever is going on with me in my rebellious streak, it will only go so far because again, it's not just me. It's me, Damon and Gina. It was me,
Right.
Ronnie and Georgette. So
Mm-hmm.
or Emma and Harry or Grace and
Yeah.
George or
Yeah.
Bruce, Brenda. So I always had to have this in the back of my mind, and
That
I
is
did.
crazy.
I did. Yeah. So weird, huh? That's why I
Yeah.
got premature gray hair. That's why I got gray so early.
Man, but you're still what you're like in your 40s, right? You're at least like what
Yeah,
10? You're
yeah.
like 10, what 10, 12? Because I'm 36. You're like 10,
I'm,
12 years
not,
older?
I'm 48 now. So
No,
yeah.
you're not.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Dude, no way.
yeah, yeah.
48? No,
Yes,
I don't believe that, man. I really thought you were like 40, 42, 44. I was like, ah, man, he ain't that old.
Listen, I'm 48 and I'm so happy to be 48. And I'll say the same thing when I'm 78, 88, 98. One of the things, especially live out here in LA, since we just kicking it, I'm just going to tell
Yeah,
you
yeah, 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 yeah.
that there's a premium put on youth, perhaps too much
Mm,
so. I look at it a different way. Of course, what I love about youth is the opportunities you have to recreate yourself and the opportunities you have to push forward in a better way.
mm.
But I revere and respect time and I respect elders. And so because of that,
I'm writing
you
notes. I'm sorry.
know, because of that, because I respect time and respect elders, a friend of mine, my college roommate, Sean Kirkland, his pops told me, who I call pops, his pops told me, he said, the secret to being happy is to be comfortable in your skin at whatever age you are. Meaning that if you are 25, be comfortable in being 25.
Mm,
Don't act like you're 18 and don't act like you're 40. I'm 48. I am happy to be 48. And I know a lot of people and people I love that didn't make it to this point.
yeah,
And then
yeah.
I look ahead to where my parents are and beyond, and I want to get to that point. So
Mm,
being in the present, appreciating time, understanding where you are, and being comfortable with your own age and your own skin. That's the secret of of happiness or even eternal youth because it's all up here for the most part.
wow. I'm sorry. Hold on, let me show you one. I'm really writing notes. I'm like, man, this is good. Well, I'm working on another book, Ron. And
Yeah.
the book is going to be called King. I released the book in 2018 in reference
Mhm.
to relationships. It's just called Why Love. We're created for a relationship, and it was just essentially almost like the foundation of like why in the world people get married. You know what I'm saying? In reference to like our perspective, you know what I'm saying, being a Christian, being a believer, how does that look in reference to how the world looks at it? So it's like there's some parallels from like our perspective and the world's perspective. I mean, in reference to money and taking care of your spouse and having kids, but then it's like there's another perspective is we really want to look at character and stuff like that. But hold on, because I'm really secret to happiness. I'm sorry, I'm writing this down because I'm like, ooh, if you don't mind, can I quote you sometimes in my book? Because I wasn't
Absolutely.
expecting that to happen, but I was like, oh man, you talking good. This is really good stuff. So I'm glad that you mentioned that, man. Being in California. Now, behind closed doors, I was talking to you and I was thinking more about it. And I was thinking about your response, and you was just like, "What is that?" And I was like, "Well, something's amiss here." But and it's not in reference to you. It's like you're so focused on other stuff that little stuff like this doesn't matter. So the thing that I was talking about behind closed doors is, and give me a sec, because I'm gotta switch this back. So what I was talking about before was the concept of a high value man and a high value woman, and in reference to us men, it was primarily like your money and stuff, like just pretty much the money, how much you make. Your image may play a part into you being a high value man, but it's primarily your money. What can you offer financially? But behind closed doors, you said, what's that? And I thought more about it. I was like, man, this dude is so focused that he don't even care about that conversation. And I'm like, and I guess my question is like, is that a poor man's thought? And not in the sense of financial, but just in your mindset. Like, are we thinking like poor people want somebody that's uh what's the word? Affluential? I don't know, man. It's just a thought that I had. I was like, man.
You know, um, I look at it different because I've had money, I've not had money.
Hmm.
I've been on both sides of that fence, this and the other. So it's not really about that. But I've never been poor,
Hmm.
but I have been in points in my life where I've had less. And because I believe poor is a state of mind, poor
Yeah.
is whether or not you have the means to improve yourself. Now, there's and I spoke at my alma mater about this once before. In the course of your life and in the course of your career, hardly ever is it complete ascension where
Mm.
everything is going up and going your way all the time. you will have dips in life.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And those dips can come in many ways, shape, or form. Those dips can come health wise. Those dips can come financially because of
Yeah.
job security. Those dips can come emotionally in dealing with, family or divorce or whatever. So,
Right. Right.
so that in and of itself is part of the journey. Now,
Mm-hmm.
what prepares you for that journey are your core values and your core beliefs so that those dips won't be as damaging and last as long.
Mm.
Those That's important. So when you're talking about, I think that for any adult, the the goal should be being a productive, self-sufficient adult, meaning that you can take care of yourself, and hopefully, if you can take care of yourself to the point of abundance, then you can bring on other responsibilities,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's spouse or children. But first, you have to be able to take care of yourself as a fully functioning adult, being able to cover bills, being able to take care of your personal business,
Right.
because that's important. Now, the way you framed the question when we first spoke of this, it had it wherein you place your value on the amount of money that you make. So
Mm-hmm.
if that were the way I looked at it, when I made a whole lot of money, then my value of what I could contribute to humanity or society was fantastic.
Wow.
But
Yeah.
when I experienced a downturn, now does all of my value leave because I'm not making much money as I did
Yeah.
before?
Yeah.
Not the way it works. You're the same person, and
Mm-hmm.
you own your trek. So, and then also what that does, if you decide to go into a noble profession, let's say you wanted to become a teacher, which
Mm-hmm.
a very noble profession and is needed. And if someone decided to become a teacher, they are going into that profession understanding that they will probably not become wealthy being a teacher,
Right.
but their value to society and their value to the community is immense. But with that being said, if you place that value just in monetary, then to everybody else, you're not really doing anything because you're just a teacher, you're not making that much money. So
Right.
that's that you don't place your value in your purpose, and then the money will come.
Mm-hmm.
And or I should say, better say, the compensation will come.
The
Meaning
compensation
the
will come.
compensation can be in the form of monetary reward, or the compensation can be the form of the value you add to the community or society. So if you are a business person, your value that you're adding could be for yourself personally, and whatever money comes in because you help create something, and now you're reaping the benefits of that, and so you're making more money, and you're also hopefully being able to create jobs for others, and
Mm-hmm.
now you have a value to society, and so you're a value person. If you're a teacher, you may not have the money that
Mm-hmm.
the businessmen may have, but you will have impact because
Impact.
you're going to have on the community and on those kids could ultimately benefit that businessman because now he has a better educated worker that came up through a school system that you helped to influence. So it
Right.
all leads into each other. And that's what makes a person value. What are you, in what way, shape, or form are you benefiting your community, society at large? That's the way I look at it.
You know what? And that's why I'm glad that I spoke with you, because I actually do plan on later on having a video called um how to get a high value man. But I was taking notes and I was like, no, I need to like dissect this whole concept of what a high value man is. 'Cause like the way you put it is like how I think. I'm like, man, it's got to be more than just money. But if we're focusing only on money, then of course, as you said, like if you're at like a low point, then you're not worth your salt, quote unquote, right? So I'm so glad.
But just so it won't be quick, won't be confused for people that may just be logging on.
Mm,
When I said about no, the money is important because we need that to
yeah,
survive. And
absolutely.
then at the same time, what I'm saying, I guess, in a nutshell, is that your purpose will help the money come or the compensation come in whatever
Right.
form that is. That compensation, if you're doing things with purpose and you're doing things with the intent of being the best you can at it, then the money will come. Or let me correct myself, the compensation will
Mm-hmm.
come. Depending on the industry and depending on what you do, that compensation can come in the form of money, or that compensation can come in the form of community impact. If
Mm-hmm.
you are an elected official, or like I said, a teacher or school
Mm.
principal, you don't make millions of dollars.
Right,
But
right.
obviously, your impact, which is your compensation, the thing that brings value to you and what you do, comes in a different form. It may not be in a monetary reward, it
Mm-hmm.
comes in an impact. So I guess that's what I'm saying. So,
Yeah.
no, focus on compensation more so than the just the financial part of compensation, because
Right.
things tend to take care of themselves. A good friend of mine told me, and I really took this to heart maybe 10, 15 years ago. He's an Israeli guy. He said, Ron, if you watch the pennies, the dollars will take care of themselves. Pay
If.
attention on doing what you're supposed to do with the little things, and
Mm-hmm.
you do them right, those things add up. And before you know, you got the dollars, you know? So watch the pennies, the dollars will take care of themselves. There you go.
That is good of themselves. I'm trying to write shorthanded notes. Man, that and this is why I'm glad that I reached out to you. I'm glad that you said yes in reference to this episode, because I feel like it's gonna be really important for, especially for us men, especially for us black men, to have that conversation, or to hear somebody talk, like, you know what I'm saying, talk in the manner that you're talking, because it's a form of encouragement, but it brings us back down to reality, right? And not saying, when I say reality, in the sense that, like, if you just sit back and look at your situation, you could be like, okay, I can make this work. You know, I may have something that and this is no pun, because your dad, he's a bishop now, which is like mind blowing to me. But it's a guy. His name is Nathaniel Holcomb, Bishop Nathaniel Holcomb. He died a couple years ago, but he had this thing called the Shamgar principle, and what he said was, uh, you do what you can. Well, you start where you're at. You do what you can, and you use what you currently have available for you, and then you build upon that. And essentially, that's what I'm getting from you, is like, wherever you're at, you start right there, and then you build from there. And I'm like, man, this is good, because we're living in a society. Okay, perfect example. Like, we'll see you, and somebody be like, well, he's established, he's this, I want this type of dude. And it's like, but you don't know his path. You don't know what all the different things that he had to deal with, experience, and stuff like that. There may have been, hypothetically speaking, a certain point in time where, like, somebody saw you, was like, nah, I don't want to deal with him. You know what I'm saying? Because of da 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 da. But now we see you now in 2021. It's like, oh, I want that type of dude, or I want this dude, right? So it's like, how does that? You know what I'm saying? It's like, but that's why I feel as though it's so important for us to build where we're at and do what we can. I'm not sure if I asked you this. Are you familiar with the term MGTOW?
MGTOW.
Yeah, it
Never.
means men going their own way. So
Men their own way. And I never
yeah.
heard of tell
Boy, okay. So I'm gonna try to give you the short version of it. So basically, the short version of it is, basically, there are brothers, and there are a handful of brothers on either side. They reference the blue pill, red pill. I don't know. Have you heard anybody talk like that before? Okay, so this
me.
is in reference to the Matrix. So
Yeah.
the red pill is, you see reality for what it is. And then you're like, I'm not gonna play these games, but I see reality for what it is. When you take the blue pill, you're like, oh, I'm just gonna fall asleep and just not be privy to what's happening in, you know what I'm saying, in the world, with my life, in reference to women and stuff like that. I'm just gonna be this goofy dude for the rest for the rest of my life, right? And so with MGTOW, you got some people that are like really, really cynical, and then you got some people that just really operate with common sense. It's like, okay, I liken, you know what's funny? I'm gonna tell you the story too. I liken it to the book of Proverbs. That's how I look at it. In the book of Proverbs, basically, a son, or King Lemuel, was having was just reminiscing about his conversations with his parents, with his mother and his father, and it was basically like, hey, if you want to be a king, you want to be a husband, you want to be a father, You want to be this all around good dude here in this, you know what I'm saying, in the nation of Israel. These are the things we want to teach you so you don't find yourself looking goofy or looking foolish, right? And essentially with Mikta, it's kind of like that. Be mindful of like the people that you deal with. Just in general. Be mindful of the women that you entertain. Be mindful of the friends you have that you associate with because they can lead you down a wrong path and you find yourself in some weird financial situation, weird social situation. So, like I said, that's just the short version of it. Like that's the really short.
Like, there's points of agreement and points where I would probably have to know more about it to get more clarity. So
Got
the
it.
points of agreement sound like what you said in Proverbs, which is
Mm-hmm.
something, which is a book that I think that every young person, especially every young man, should read.
Yeah.
But just because of the wisdom that comes from that particular book in the gospel.
Mm-hmm.
But in regards to the red pill, blue pill, I think that's one of the things that um, is very, because there's no, when red and blue get together, is that purple?
Yeah. Oh, that's a whole nother rabbit hole, Ron.
Very, it's very seldom in life do you find a person that fits neatly in one or the other. There's
Mm-hmm.
some people who are extremely disciplined in certain areas and then they're completely reckless in others.
Right.
So, and so the red pill or blue pill as a complete way to describe who they are as a person
Mm-hmm.
is very seldom that that's the case. Very seldom in society on the blue, doing things everything right the way they're supposed to. You got Jesus Christ.
Right.
On the other side, where you got somebody who's completely evil, you probably got Hitler. But even
Yeah.
some Hitler's family members may have thought he was a great uncle or something, you know. So even like it's very hard to kind of put human beings into that. Now,
Mm-hmm.
with all that being said, what you aspire to be, that's a clear cut decision.
Mm-hmm.
And having your natural inclinations, whether your natural inclinations that you're automatically by nature, I'm more of a calm guy by
Yeah.
nature.
Facts.
But when I get up there, it's hard to get me back down. But I'm mostly a calm guy. That's just my
Mm-hmm.
nature. So you have some people who run hot all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, if you are aware, that's what I'm saying, knowing where you are, knowing your pros and cons, so to speak,
Mm-hmm.
knowing your strengths and weaknesses, doing an individual SWOT analysis, and understanding where you need to improve and seek to improve in that area and seek to enhance what you already are good at,
Mm-hmm.
which is something that comes with being an athlete. And that's why I love team sports for people, because it teaches you these types of things in a more physical way, but it does. I think that's what's important, is to understand who you are, strengths and weaknesses, be willing to look at yourself honestly and see where you can improve and have a goal of where you want to be. Because if
Wow.
that's this is really that simple. But in regards to, like, I don't like to put anybody in a straight up box, and which is very easy and very human to do. That makes it
Right.
easy for us. It's easy for me to, it's easier for any person to look at another individual and say, oh, this person is that. Because that
Mm-hmm.
doesn't take a lot of thinking. That doesn't take a lot of, doesn't take into account that person's full humanity and the nuances
Mm.
of that person. But it's easier for me to classify this person.
Wow.
So, but you can't help that other humans will do that human thing in regards to classifying you. What you can do is understand that you don't have to classify yourself that way.
Mm-hmm.
You can understand that you have this nuanced thing about you where you have strengths and weaknesses, and you can accept and understand your weaknesses and see how you can correct or improve on those and enhance your positives at the same time, and then move towards a goal. But that's from within, each person from within looking out. And if you do that same thing, you start to think about it that way, odds are you will start to realize that same notion when it comes to other people,
Right.
which will help you to connect with people that on the surface you may not seem as if you could have a work relationship with or to negotiate with,
Hmm.
because your first inclination was to only to see them another way. But now, if
Right.
you see them that's just as much of a complex human or organism as you,
Mm.
now you see, okay, there are, although I can't see it now, I'm sure there's some points of commonality in this person I'm negotiating with, or this person I'm dealing with, or this person I'm trying to seek to have. Where are those things so we can build on that and help to make this situation more to the more in alignment with what I'm looking for. So
That's good. That's
that,
good. And I'm glad that you said, "Oh man, I don't." I think the book is in the other room, but it was a book that I was dating this girl, and I was reading this book, and I was like, okay. So, but it was talking about the guy he was referencing. I can't think of the name of the book, but it was a really good book. But he was talking about he was referencing Proverbs, but it was concerning like romantic relationships, business relationships, just friendships and stuff like that. Certain people are a certain way, and in his mind frame, he was basically saying there's a way that you can get along with, not really like get along with everybody, but it was kind of like alluding to that, like how you can like kind of have some general peace with certain people, but something that you said was okay. So I want to segue into this question because you said in reference to we have to understand who we are, in reference to our strengths and weaknesses, and just how to improve, right? How to improve and correct those things. So I got a question. So, um, what do you do when you find yourself in the presence of people that okay, there's two different types of people. People that maybe not really self-aware of their character and their conduct, and it's not healthy. And then the other thing is, what do you do with people that are self-aware of their character and conduct, and they don't care? So what are you as an individual that's like, well, I'm trying to better myself. I'm trying to make sure I have some peace, some healthiness, some healthy relationships, working relationships, friendships and stuff like that. What can you do to maneuver through these types of entities?
it's another complex question because it all depends on that the nature of that relationship, right?
Mm,
The way it usually works. If it's someone in a work situation that you guys bump heads, then you have to conduct yourself a certain way, and you still have to deal with that person. So you
mm-hmm.
find ways of maneuvering. It's like everything in life. Not life is about learning how to navigate the different relationships. In regards to my inner circle, I'm protective of who I allow within my very inner circle. Um, and I am first ballot Hall of Famer of knowing how to keep certain things at a distance, not allow
Mm,
it too close. And I've always been that way. Now, and I can love someone. I can have a lot of affinity for a certain person or group of people, whatever.
mm,
But I'm very protective with what I allow within my peaceful space. And not to say that I've sometimes in life, like anytime sometimes you have to learn hard lessons, and that's nothing that's to be ashamed of. Sometimes you have to bump your head.
yeah.
Sometimes you're the problem, not the
Mm,
other. And so, and then sometimes you can sense that, or sometimes something catalytic has to happen for you to see that what I was the problem with this, like in previous relationships, where it's easy to put it on the other person. Well,
yep.
if you're honest with yourself, you know, it I could say it's me easily. I
Yeah.
can say. Now, was it painful to have to admit that, or is it painful to have to see that? Is it painful to go through the entire experience? Of course, but some lessons are painful.
Yep.
That's the nature of life and learning. You will not always be a willing student, but you
Mm,
will be in that class of life, and you will learn something, hopefully, that you'll
yeah.
take forward to improve you as you move forward. But yeah, but I don't yeah, I don't worry too much about stuff like that. I mean,
Mm,
just because I lived a lot of places. I've lived in two different countries. I'm from Michigan, of course. I
yeah.
live in Kansas. I live out here in LA. I have a very wide group of friends, And within that group of friends, I have people that are real confidants of mine that
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
and I'm blessed in that regard. And I think that's part of the thing with you improving yourself. The you the energy you put out is reflective of the energy you bring back eventually. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So if I with me, and I tell my nephew this all the time, I said, listen, if you hang around in a room with five people who are going nowhere, not trying to do anything, and not, I don't like to call people losers, but they have a very limited future.
Mm-hmm.
You do
Mm-hmm.
that often enough, eventually you will find yourself among six people like that because now you become one.
Wow.
Now on the other end, if you're in a room with five people who are go-getters, well-to-do, driven, and focused, eventually you will be part of them, and you'll be six people who are well-to-do, focused, and driven, are moving in a good direction. So
Yeah.
you are a result of where you spend your time and who you communicate with on a constant daily basis. You are part of that, whether or not you want it or not. That's just part
Yeah.
of being human. You absorb
Absolutely.
from your environment, so you have to be protective of the environment you're in, and that's I'm I am that way. Now that doesn't say that you know I don't mess with anybody or don't talk to people that may not be you know off into the stratosphere. That's not like that at all
Mm-hmm.
because it's like another one of those complex things because there's some people that you have genuine love for and you always go be there for them. You're always going to give them your time. But in regards to that, you know, you understand what it is and
Right.
you don't allow for whatever the thing is that's holding them back. You don't allow that to carry over into you. If anything, if they're open, then some of you will put onto them but you can't let it come onto you. So you still have to limit your time in that sort of interaction because
Right.
you look going in a different direction. So
Man, this is just golden nuggets. This is just a bunch of golden nuggets, Ron. When I say I'm taking notes, I'm really taking notes, man, because this is you probably ain't got time. I was gonna say, why don't you get on Clubhouse and talk to the people in Clubhouse? But
for the first time yesterday, but I'm so busy, man. I don't really have time for. I've heard of Clubhouse for the first time. I think yesterday or the day before, but
really,
I don't really have time.
yeah.
I have Clubhouse every day, so
Yeah, no, look, man, I got on there for a while because I was just, taking notes and listening to people talking. I was like, okay, this is good. And I'm utilizing the stuff that I'm learning. And then I'm like, man, I'm on here too much. My wife felt some type of way. I was like, yeah, I need a break. Like I needed a break because there's certain rooms in there. Like, of course, now it goes back to what you were saying about depending on who you're around, who you surround yourself with. So in this case, it's who you follow. There's certain people where I may have followed them or they follow me,
hmm
but we're only doing something with music, right? But then they're in a whole different room where it's not healthy to me, period. It's not beneficial to me at all. And I'm just like, well, okay. So, and that's it. So it's like, it's just one of those things where I use it and I look at it like a networking tool.
hmm
You can meet people you never met before. You can glean things that you
hmm
never really wherever that person lives that never gleaned from before, or never heard anything like that before. And then you got the usual suspects, the tomfoolery, the extracurricular and ridiculous activities that transpires in Clubhouse. We're not gonna go there, but it's Ron, it's ridiculous. Okay, it is ridiculous, but
look at it, see what's up, so I can see what all the hype is
mm,
about. I
like I
take
said,
it.
okay, have fun. No, but overall, it's a good tool. I like it. It's enjoyable. It's just that I was just on there too much. I mean, I put it like this. In another perspective, that tool can be used for like you get to see people's real character. You know what I'm saying? That could be a good or a bad thing, right? So, um, let's see. Like, okay, like there's a few people that I follow that are artists, right? They're singers and songwriters and stuff like that. And then they know a little bit about the business, and so they're telling their background stories and their history, and you're learning like, yo, this person. I mean, they put their pants on the same way, unless they're doing gymnastics and hitting backflips in the air and putting their clothes on. But they're really down to earth people, man, and they're
Mm,
really transparent. And for me at least, I like gleaning from those people because you get to see real authenticity. You get to see like, okay, now I understand the way you painted your words a certain way. Now I get to see the way you look at life because you're sharing your personal experiences. And then you got those people that they front. They right, they do certain things for clout, for attention, but they're trying to get somewhere where their character won't sustain them. And you get to see all of that in Clubhouse. You get to see just without even looking at the people, you just get to hear them talk and you
yeah,
get to witness all that. And it's interesting. It's
it's
an interesting tool.
like a combination of all the other social media platforms.
Yeah.
Um, another version of the same old,
Yeah.
but yeah, I may check it out one of these
Yeah.
times.
The interesting part out of all of it is that people are just talking. That's
Yeah,
it. That's it. There's no video chat. It's just people talking. And I'm like, man, I don't know why, but it never really dawned on me how powerful the human voice is.
yeah,
Like, like your father, he would preach us, you know what I'm saying? He would preach to us about that, like, life or death are in the power of the tongue. Watch what you say, and this, that, this, and the third. And but words really carry weight.
yeah. I
And,
mean, we have a perfect example of that based on what's going on in D.C. and in the
sir,
White House for the
yeah,
last 4 years. So, yeah, if it, and there's throughout history there's been examples of that. So yeah, that should not be news to anyone that's paying attention to life and paying attention to themselves. All you got to
yeah,
do is think back for if you've heard hurtful words come
mm-hmm,
from someone that you love, or the impact if you said hurtful words to a person that loves you
mm-hmm,
and that does to them. It lets you know your words do have impact, and so you got to be careful what you say. And
right,
but that's part of being a responsible adult too, is to
absolutely,
not to give in to every impulse and to pay attention to what you're doing and understand that people are watching. And meaning that when I say people, it's not for a judgment. It means that you probably, the same as you were looking at me. I knew that kids kind of looked up to me because I was
yeah,
getting to do autographs and stuff like that. But I never knew specifically that you were, because you didn't come to many of my basketball games. You were at church as a little kid watching me,
yeah,
but you were watching me. So if I was acting stupid and acting crazy, that could have had an impact on you. Not to say I was some overriding influence, but
yeah,
you never know who's watching and who you could be inspiring and
absolutely,
who's looking at you as motivation. And that's a blessing if you
yeah,
have someone looking at you like that,
yeah,
especially someone that's not, that doesn't, that's doing that by choice, not because they have to. My son, he's going to look at his dad, but he's got to look at his dad. I'm his dad.
yeah,
If someone else chooses to look at me and look at my past successes and failures as an inspiration or lesson or example at some point, they're doing that by choice. And
mm-hmm,
so by them choosing me, I think that that's very much so an honor, and it's something that I take seriously.
yeah,
And so yeah, that's not to say that I'm a saint or perfect, never will be.
yeah. No, I mean, who's perfect, man?
But I try my best to comport myself in a way so that you know it will help to kids like you were to say,
Yeah,
okay, this is a black man doing the best he can in this world,
right.
and he don't have a tattoo on his face yet. So
Don't do it, man. Don't. Hey, hold on. Don't do it and come with the Shamar Moore braids, neither.
there you go.
No, man. So we got like 10 more minutes. Let's see. Yeah. We got a brother. Actually, I think he's my cousin. Yeah, Alvin. Yeah, I think he's a cousin of mine or like a play cousin. He's watching my apostle, he's watching. So but yeah, shout out to them. Man, I always when you I think when you had first announced that you were in a different career over in Cali and you announced it on Facebook, I thought it was cool. I was like, man, this dude is so cool. It's like when I know it sounds weird even at 36. I like when I look at you, it sounds really weird. I look at you, but it's like I find myself back when I was little. Look, that's how I see you. Like I still see you in that certain light. Like, man, I want to be like this dude and I'm grown. I'm like I want to be like you when I grow up. Just like your character, your conduct, the different things that transpire. I'm like, man, not like do exactly what you're doing, but far as when you're talking about like being impactful, right? Where you're at right now, you're really impactful. I'm pretty I'm pretty sure in reference to the city, you're really impactful. But something that you said, and you already touched on it before, in reference to what we were talking about, like knowing who you are, understanding. But I remember, I think I said it either on a post that you had posted, or like, yeah, it was most likely a post. I said, man, I said I want to be like you when I grow. You like, well, you can. I was like, well, Negro, how? You
Right.
know, like, but how? And it's like I think a lot of us black men, we have different um, we come from different walks of life.
Mm,
Some of us grew up in the hood. Some of us didn't grow up in the hood. Some of us went to school with people that were in the hood, and then we want to be like them. Oh, I don't want to get started with that because I taught. I was a teacher for a little bit, and I
mm,
saw that. Right, I saw kids that did not grow up in the hood associate with kids in the hood to be cool. Right, but that's a whole different. That's a whole different topic. Maybe one day we'll talk about it again
yeah.
later on. But when you said that you can, for me it was like I was like, okay, I need to figure this out, right? You know what I'm saying? How can I basically like what can I do to get out of what I don't know what was going on with me at that time. I know I wasn't married. I think I had just moved here to Texas.
Mm,
So I was really trying to like it was like I had to start all over fresh. I was trying to
yeah.
figure out life all over again, leaving Kentucky. And I was like, man. And so when you was like, well, you can, I was like, well, how does that look? You know what I'm saying? And I don't know if this sounds bad, but I look at, cause I look at you like you're like a bar. Does that make sense?
Not really.
Like,
Oh, the bar. Okay,
yeah,
I see.
yeah. You're a bar. Like, okay, well, I might not be able to reach that, but I could probably reach that in my own right. Right. I might not do the same things you're doing. Right. I mean, I wrestled in high school. I didn't make it out to the back. I didn't play basketball in high school. I wrestled in high school. I played soccer. I did all this stuff. But it's like, okay, I'm gonna do well in what I'm good at. And then so when you just like, well, you can. It's like, okay, I'm just gonna do well with what I'm good at. Good with music, the way I think. I'm a writer. I'm this, that, this, and the third. But what can you tell those men, especially black men, they feel as though their lot in life is nothing but death and destruction, so to speak? Like,
But I hope and I pray that in this day and age, the number of black men that feel that way is continually going down and down and down and down because we one thing about us and our culture is that we have always been resilient and we've
hmm
always been strong, and despite things that have happened to our culture throughout history, we still here. We
right,
found a way. In regards to the hood and all the other stuff that happens, a lot of that stuff is a matter of socioeconomic conditions.
mm,
You know, and most people that's in the hood don't want to be in the hood, but we try to make the best of wherever we are, and
right,
sometimes making the best of where we are is to somewhat glorify it and to find
mm,
a little of beauty in it, which you can get, um, which is one of the reasons why you got hip hop, you have urban fashion.
right,
It's we take what was given us and we make the best of it as much as we can. Now, all that being said, just like any large group of people, especially a group of people that has experienced as much trauma as we have,
Mm-hmm.
It's important for those of us who have gone to a certain level and have been exposed to more
Yeah.
that we try to offer those same opportunities to other young brothers and sisters that are coming
Right.
behind because it's all about exposure. I
Yeah.
think that make basketball so special for me in my life is that it exposed me to things that me coming out of the South Side
Yeah.
on Salina,
Oh, you know
that
what?
that would not have happened. I really don't think that would have happened. I would have been where I am now if not for basketball offering me
Mm-hmm.
a chance to see other things. Once I saw those other things, I was able to take advantage of it, add it to my skill set, and just kind of build from there.
Yeah.
But if you're only if you can't get out of that cocoon to see or be exposed to other things, then you don't know what you can do. So some of these kids, and that's why I said you can do it. And I remember, uh, I don't know, maybe I was at a conference when I was in Boston.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, I was the only African American at the table, and we're at a dinner, me and business friends, and it came out like during the course of the conversation, and that they were saying that how extraordinary I was. And I got offended and I kind of pushed back on that. And I did it clearly so everyone at the table understood. I said, I'm not extraordinary. I'm not extraordinary in any sense whatsoever. So what I have is that I've been exposed to opportunities that if anybody else from my old neighborhood were exposed to these same sort of opportunities, they would have likely taken advantage of these and they could be here as well. The
Yep.
only thing in this world that is as difficult as rocket science and brain surgery are rocket science and brain surgery. Just about anything else you can learn how to do
Mm-hmm.
if you are exposed to it. And that's the thing. A lot of our youth aren't exposed to things that will help them get to that next level. And that's
Wow.
what we do. So,
Wow. Man, you know what? I said an hour. We got 3 minutes left. Cause I'm like, I got more stuff. I'm like, sir, that's good, but I think that's the underlining thing or theme overall in reference to even to what we were talking about earlier, MGTOW, high value character and stuff like that. It's like, what are you being? That's so simple. That's really so simple, Ron. Like, what
yeah,
are you being exposed to?
yeah.
And
We all,
we need to be able to change the narrative, not just for our own personal sake, but literally for the next generation, right?
yeah.
So,
That's
yeah,
what equity is all about. I mean, that's what. I'm sorry, you only have a couple of minutes to go, but I was just going to say really quickly, about 10 seconds. That's what equity is all about. The whole equity push is for us to have equal exposure and
mm,
opportunity. So the exposure helps us to prepare for the opportunity. So if you have an equitable education system to prepare you, then when the opportunity comes around, you'll be able to grasp onto that opportunity because you were able to be prepared by being exposed to the enrichment courses, the education, the skills training, whatever. So
right,
now you can so what happens sometimes is that they try to give us the opportunity before we're ready for it, and then say, okay,
mm,
we tried to help you by giving you this opportunity. I said, but you didn't provide the exposure of the type of tools necessary for us to,
right,
once that opportunity got there.
yeah,
Help build that. And not only will we be able to take advantage of this opportunity, but we may create our own opportunity because now we
mm,
have the requisite base skill set in order to do so. And we can just compound the progress that we're making as a culture. So, anyway, that's it, though.
no, that's sorry, that's good, that's good. Oh man, I want to keep you on here longer, but we said an hour, and I didn't want to take up your time, but
No problem.
God, man, that's good. That's so good, Ron. I appreciate it. I guess one more thing. Is there anything you want to leave the people? Because you're busy. You don't really do much with social media, so I'm not going to even say, "Hey, plug in your social media. Where can we find you?" and stuff. I'll just say Google the guy. Just Google him, y'all, and
Yeah,
you'll
yeah.
find out some interesting stuff.
I do a lot of, given my role, I do a lot of, speaking on technical issues, pertaining to my job working for the mayor of the second largest city in the United States and the third largest metropolitan economy in the world. So I'm very, very busy.
Yeah.
I post on social media and stuff like
Mm.
that. I still have my little itsy bitsy parts of fun. But what I want to leave people with is how proud I am of you.
Oh man,
Okay,
come on.
and I'm serious. I'm serious because you come from an area the same that I come from.
Yeah.
You have forged your way in the world. You're still a young man, and so your journey continues. But everything that you've done to this point has influenced or inspired someone, and at some point you're going to be on the other end of a call similar to this, or a call similar to what we had when you first called me to introduce me to this podcast,
Mm.
and they're going to say how listening to you helped to inspire them, and that's what we need to push for. So I'm proud of you, brother.
Man.
Keep up the good work, and to be a wrestler, you got pretty good looking ears. Okay.
That's a good one. Look, man, I was trying to get a shorty. I didn't want to have no messed up ear. Oh goodness, that was a good one. That was good. All right, guys. Thank you so much for checking out the podcast. It's supposed to be different podcast. This is episode 50, Big Bro Talks, featuring Ron Frierson. Guys, you might want to put this one here on replay again. Play it again on YouTube. Play it again on Facebook, and also on Foster Podcast on Spotify and Apple Music and Google. Well, Apple Podcasts and Google Podcasts. This one was really good, right? I love having different guests on here, but for me at least, this one was like really really special because I knew this guy since I was like itty bitty. So man, just good stuff, good stuff. Ron, thank you again, sir. I really, really, really appreciate you coming through. Um, I might need your cash app if you got cash app, so I can give you something, man. Just for hopping on. I don't do that, but I
No,
gotta do something, man.
no, you keep doing what you're doing. That's enough. And plus, it's illegal for me to take money anyway. So,
Oh, okay, my bad. Sorry. All right, I'll
no,
edit that out.
if it wasn't, that's not what it's about, brother. You
Got it.
just go keep doing what you're doing. All right.
Word, word. All right, appreciate it. All right, guys, thanks for checking it out, and we'll talk.